Yeah, my name is Mohammed Belal. I'm a consultant neurological surgeon at University Hospitals Birmingham. And my main area is in neurourology and reconstruction, so it's a niche area within urology. I deal with lots of patients with congenital problems, patients with disability issues, patients who are wheelchair users. Yeah, I shared my story about 2.5 years ago. I suffered a catastrophic life-changing injury. I was out cycling with a friend of mine near a place in Meriden, and literally out of nowhere, a tree fell as I cycled by, which resulted in spinal cord injury. So I remember waking up after the injury and trying to get up, and at that point I realised then I was paralysed. And so eventually the ambulance gentleman arrived, and I still have recollection of him saying, "I've got you some paracetamol." And I was like, "Yeah, I don't think that's going to cut it." And so instead, he kindly got the ambulance out, and I was very fortunate to be transferred to the trauma unit, which was Coventry. The care I received was amazing. As soon as I arrived, being from a medical background, I realised that I needed emergency surgery, and I underwent emergency surgery that night. There's a degree of tranquility and calmness. I had this visualization of myself in a wheelchair, and the fact that the journey would be a long journey. I spent 2 weeks as an inpatient at Coventry. It was a very challenging time, surprisingly with lots of pain. I recall you were being turned every 4 hours, one side, the other side, during the day and during the night. But I managed to get through that challenging time. I was very fortunate that I was transferred to the spinal unit in London, one of the best spinal units, which I spent another 6 to 8 weeks there. Just before leaving, they decided they needed to do a further scan. Fortunately, the scan showed that the spine was still broken, and so I had to have another major 12-hour operation. So they took out the metalwork, and they went through the front and back. There's 3 surgeons who spent 12 hours fixing my spine. So it was quite a difficult time at that point, because I'd already climbed the first mountain and I was about to go home. Hadn't seen my children at that point, and I was desperate to see the family. But I spent another several weeks in hospital, a few additional complications, and then I finally made it home. I was so happy to be at home with my family, but that's when the real challenges started. And I think, the NHS is excellent for inpatient care. Sadly, I don't think the funding for community care is so good. And so I said to myself, look, the things I can do and the things I can't do. And I broke my journey up into, physical, mental and spiritual journey. And with the physical, I could ensure that I could do my own rehab program. So every day I'd spend 3 hours doing my own rehab, including a muscle stimulator, standing in a standing frame, and then trying to find the right team to help me. So it took me a little bit of time to find the right physios to help. And so I had to wait. I had to wait for my spine to heal, and it took a year for my spine to heal. And so during that time, I carried on pushing with my rehab. At the end of the year, I realized I wasn't ready for work. I perhaps gave myself an unrealistic expectation of getting back to work within a year. At that point, you've got to be brave enough to say, okay, this is not quite right. So I gave myself another 6 months. I was very, very fortunate that I was able to access some private inpatient care. I spent 6 hours a day, 5 days a week for a period of 3 months. And so with neuro rehab, it's not about doing it 10 times, it's not about doing 100 times, it's about doing 1,000 times. It's just having that drive to just keep on pushing. It was very humbling. I received letters from my patients, it made me realize I had to come back, and help those. And one of my reflections with my time off was that, being in the service of others is so important. I look back at my life and realized, my life wasn't wasted. I tried my best to help others, and I had this real drive to come back to be able to help. And of course, I won't be necessarily the same surgeon, but I will give it my best go. And I think sometimes we have to recognize the journey is more important than the end destination. You shouldn't really have fear of failure. You have to enjoy that journey as you go along. I was incredibly privileged to have an amazing occupational health team. The University Hospital Birmingham, they were brilliant. They gave me freedom to decide how I was going to come back. And I had remarkable managers, Emma, who did a fantastic job of getting me back. And what I did was we created a simulation day when I went back to theatre. And we did a day, how would I scrub up, how would I, and I was very fortunate, my colleague Tom, as well as the OTs and physios from the Royal Bucks, as well as the theatre team were there to support me. And once I did that, I realised I could come back. And so in early November, I came back, and there was so much love from all my colleagues. It was a great day. I did my first operation, went really well. And so it was so nice to be back. And I come back with a different perspective. I realised life's about balance. Life's about the middle ground. And as a surgeon, I was a bit of a workaholic, working 6-7 days a week. And I realised one of the most important things is giving time to the people you care about, which is your family, your friends, and making sure that those relationships are positive. And so, I've had lots of reflections of my time being on the other side, and I realised how tough it is for patients on the other side. But I also realised how much of an amazing job healthcare professionals do, whether it's the nurses, the OTs, the physios, the doctors. I'm forever grateful for the NHS and just the fact that whatever happened, they were able to fix me back up. And I realised that from my side, the communication is key, and the way we speak to patience is key. And so I think communication is so important, how we address people. And the two of the things I really learned was about gratitude, being grateful for what you do have and what you don't have. And I'm forever grateful. I've still got my hands, my brain, an amazing family, amazing friends. What is there not to be grateful for? And realizing that life is a series of chapters, and you go through different chapters through your life. And once it's done, it's done. There's no point ever looking back. And you're realizing that the feelings will come and go, and there'll be times you're positive or negative, but you can always look at things in a positive way. And I've always looked at my journey as that it's allowed me to grow. Whenever you go through a very difficult time, it's an opportunity for growth. And the other thing I really learned was about hope, and I think it's important not to crush people's hope. Hope is what keeps us going. Hope meant that I could do thousands of hours of rehab because I thought I was going to get better. And whether I do get better or not is irrelevant. It's the fact that I did all that. And, and I think as human beings, it's really important that we always, whenever people are going through a difficult time, it's not to crush their hope, but also to reach out to people when they're going through difficult times, even with a simple text message or not. Just when people are going through difficult times, sometimes we can find it hard to say something to them. But actually, even a simple text message saying, look, I'm thinking about you. I know you're going through a difficult time. If there's anything I can do, that's really important. And the thing I kind of leave with is, we have to be kind and compassionate to ourselves, as well as our family, as well as our friends and colleagues. And I think it's really important that we realise whatever befalls us, there's always a positive and there's always something to learn.
Thank you.